Hi guys, welcome back to another episode Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time, just like wine does. Here we have Mayra. And so, of the previous episodes, been talking about women making waves in the Women Empowering Group. She's actually my accountability buddy in the group. So she owns her own business. She's in the body sculpting industry. And so we're going to kind of talk more about that and everything that she has to share. So I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on here. And it's also my first podcast. So this is also very exciting, checking it off my list.
Yay. Yeah, so we actually have wine from Tim Shell Vineyards, and I actually met the winemaker Nate yesterday, and he was fantastic. So we're having his rosé. So cheers.
Cheers to that. Got a little bit of tree stuff in there. I love it.
Oh,
extra flavoring.
So yeah, we'll start with Your Body Haven, which is what you founded, you own, CEO, and all that. So I'll let you share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of background about how everything kind of went about and got started. I'm a 2-time Cal Poly graduate. I studied graphic communication for my undergrad, and then I went on and got my master's in business administration, also at Cal Poly. I absolutely learned so much, of course, and in doing that, ever since I was really little, I've always been intrigued by the beauty industry, as most of us are, right? Especially living in San Luis Obispo, I feel like everybody's always on this, truthfully, it's a self-love journey of wanting to be your best version of yourself. And everybody here, I feel like, really cares about the way that they look. And it's a specific type of feel, right? So being here in San Luis Obispo, I feel really fortunate and grateful for a lot of things that we have access to in terms of resources, the Women Making Waves community. But honestly, I had no idea that the body sculpting, I knew body sculpting was a thing, like surgery and BBLs and all that stuff. But I had no idea that there was a non-invasive side to it up until my boyfriend, Marcos, actually was the one that introduced me to it. So after I got my master's, I worked in tech for about 2 years. And for those in tech, mad props. But after a while, I really felt like this isn't it for me. Mayra Mejia has to keep going. There's more to life than just working behind a screen. And that's just for me, right? Other people truthfully enjoy that, and that's totally fine. But for my journey, I really felt like my sense of purpose has a lot to do with helping others. So I knew that I would end up doing something in the service industry. So long story short, after about 1.5 years into working in tech, I really just felt like I was hitting a wall with, my self-growth. And I knew that if I didn't change it, then things were going to go dark pretty fast. And I didn't want to go through that kind of path. I feel like I've always been a very positive, bubbly, lively person in terms of helping other people. And so I just felt I feel like I preach this a lot, where how can you pour into someone else's cup if yours isn't 100% full, right? So I knew that if I continued in the tech industry, I just wasn't going to be the best version of myself if I even considered starting my own thing. So I did take some time, I would say about 3 or so months, after learning about the non-invasive body sculpting side from Marcos, before quitting my full-time tech job, with all the benefits and things like that. I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared because truthfully, it was a time when Marcos has been in the entrepreneurship space for about 4 or 5 years now. So right before, 2019, 2020, all the craziness in the world. So he became an entrepreneur shortly before it was even cool. You know what I mean? And for him to have set that kind of, I guess, leading by example kind of thing, right? It really pushed me and inspired me to start my journey as an entrepreneur. And so truthfully, I feel like I have all of the support that I could possibly ever have access to in him, in his team, and it would not have been as easy without him, without them. So I learned about it. I ended up getting trained and certified through some of his connections and people that he trusts. And then shortly after that, I ended up investing in some other people that I found on my own to get certified in specific things, the techniques. These are all very important things. I'm coming to learn that the non-invasive body sculpting side is really an amazing thing, but also I feel like it's becoming watered down a little bit. And now when I say that, I truthfully just mean that in anything that you do, right, there's going to be people that have really like the best interests, and then people that are, on the slippery slope of things. Some people are truthfully just in it for the money. It's a very eye-grabbing industry because much like, the lash techs, estheticians, anything like that, you're on your own time, your own schedule, but you're doing something that you love, right? But not everybody has that same passion. So it's a little different. But for my experience personally, I really feel so connected to all of my clients. I'm an Aquarius. I'm a people lover. So I just love being able to help somebody with their goals. And with non-invasive body sculpting, I pretty much help my clients get to their goals, their body goals faster, without having to use anesthesia, needles, surgery, none of that. They pretty much just get to relax and reduce some inches while, I work away, listen to some calming music and things like that. So that's a little bit about it. Of course, I can dive more into like the services and things like that.
Yeah, briefly, we can just kind of go over the services because I honestly didn't know really anything about non-invasive body sculpting until I met you.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my dad, and he was even saying, I didn't even know that existed. I thought it was all surgical. So he thought it was really interesting. So people, if you don't know, it'd be cool just to know like a little bit, like how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the biggest thing to know is that you have nothing to be afraid of. Basically, how the whole process works is, so I get all of my leads, right, through a specific software that is used by Marcos's team. And then I pretty much either myself or my schedule will reach out and pretty much contact the person. There's a form that they have to fill out. It's a new client consent form, but it's also a pre-qualification form. So not everybody is actually a proper candidate for body sculpting, even though it is non-invasive. And that really is just because there are certain contraindications, like if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, things like that, or an autoimmune disease. And even though it's really natural, these things are important to take into consideration because if you are for example, let's say you have an autoimmune disease or high blood pressure or diabetes, right? So a lot of these treatments, as I mentioned, they feel like a massage, right? But the technology, which I'll go into in a little bit, pretty much what it's doing is it's breaking down your fat cells, right? It's pretty much liquefying the fat cell. So when those toxins are liquefied, they're entering your bloodstream, your lymphatic drainage system is going to be working really, really hard to just flush all that gunk out. So you can expect to flush all of it out through your pee, your stool, and your sweat, right? So the more water you drink, the better your results are going to be. And so if you are diabetic or have high blood pressure or anything like that, it does help promote more blood flow in your system. So, why would we mess with that medically if you're not a proper candidate?
Right.
So there are certain contraindications, and that's something that I definitely go over both in the form and then in person with my clients during their actual consultation. Anyone who is a new client, there is a new guest special, and it includes a complimentary consultation, a body assessment, and they get to try a session of customized treatments pretty much on the tummy and side so that they can get an idea of what it's like. I think that it's honestly such an amazing thing because the technology is there and it's only going to keep advancing and getting better. Right. I will say non-invasive body sculpting has truthfully been around for thousands of years. In the most normal form or the most simple form is through wood therapy, which in Spanish is maderoterapia. And you maybe have seen like these wooden tools and things like that. Basically, you're helping to contour the body and reshape it the way that you want to, because if we've learned anything, especially throughout the COVID times, right? A lot of people were indoors. We were overeating. It's, very natural. The stress and everything. We're putting on weight. So something that we've learned in the body sculpting industry is that when you put on weight, technically your fat should be evenly distributed throughout your body. But the truth is, it doesn't appear to look that way because of the way that we're actually wearing our clothes. So if you have, for example, taken a look at, like if you wear tight leggings or yoga pants, loose sweatpants, whatever it is, if you take a look, you look in the mirror and you turn to the side, you'll notice how your body is shaped, specifically your stomach. Sometimes we see lines and things and bulges in the thighs, but predominantly the biggest common area for treatment is the tummy, the sides, and the back. You'll see that there are, for example, depending on what you eat and drink, right, your stomach will either become like super inflamed over time, which means that there's more visceral fat, so it's harder fat to break down, or, you know, maybe you're just a little inflamed and bloated and we need to just work that out. So when you pretty much look in the mirror, you see that, yes, you have a rounded belly possibly, or maybe you have some lines and ridges and things going on. So that's really just because of the way, the tightness, the looseness of how your clothes are fitting. So when we see that, pretty much, we're noticing, okay, if we're able to pretty much train the way that our fat sits there, then we're going to use these non-invasive body sculpting approaches, customize a couple things, and retrain the fat to get it to look exactly how we want, you know, get it all in the right places. Of course, it's not like a non-surgical fat transfer, but as we're breaking down the fat cells and we're able to contour the body, we're able to really get that shape that we're looking for, which truthfully for most women, it's that nice hourglass shape, big booty, nice thighs, you know, all of that, nice and right is what people want. So it's amazing. Madero therapy has been around for at least the last 1,000 years, and it's mostly common in Colombian, Brazilian, and Chinese culture. So that's the most non-invasive introductory approach to body sculpting. And then of course we have vacuum therapy, we have ultrasonic cavitation, and we have radiofrequency, which is for skin tightening. And then, I mean, it's just amazing stuff. I can definitely walk through a little bit more about the technology and just explain, I guess, what the process is like, since I obviously don't have the machinery here. But it's pretty much 2 machines that I'll use, and then the wood therapy. It really just depends what the client's goals are, though. And that's something that I will go over through, you know, in the body assessment and their consultation and things like that. So you come as you are. A lot of people think that they have to be a certain weight or look a certain way before they can officially get treated. And that's just not true. Because what happens is, as most of my clients, you know, that have come in, is because they have just started their weight loss, fitness, or self-love journey. And so regardless, it's going to be a self-love journey. And when they've started this either weight loss or fitness journey, right, they're going to be losing a lot of weight. And what happens when you lose weight? As that fat starts to go down, you're going to end up getting more loose skin. So the way that we want to approach it is, okay, as you're getting started, it'd be great if you also start the treatments, because we're going to get everything nice, tightened, and toned, so you don't have excess loose skin to deal with afterwards, and then possibly have to get like a tummy tuck, which is the more surgical, scary side. I do love the natural, more non-invasive side to beauty, as we've talked about. And I've had clients who have, you know, come in scared because they've actually been considering like a consultation with a surgeon, or they've already had one and they're just really scared to go under the knife, under anesthesia, not knowing how their body's going to respond. And I just, themselves and myself, like, are very grateful that they're even at your Body Haven, because they're doing things, you know, on a more non-invasive approach. And why not? If there's 0 risk, like, why wouldn't you try it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Sorry, I don't want to keep taking the whole thing.
No, you're good. It's really interesting because, again, I didn't know anything about the non-surgical side, and I'll include some videos that you have that way on the video portion, that way people can kind of get an idea. But it's just super interesting, and the technology, like the radio frequencies and all this stuff. The first time you explained it to me, I was mind blown, and I really love that you emphasize it's part of the self-love journey,
right? Because
that's really important too. And especially with like bodies and everything, it's always constantly changing and all that.
I mean, everybody has their own perception of how they view themselves, right? Like, I mean, I might look at you and be like, damn, she's gorgeous. Like, you know, but inside your own head, you have your own things that you want to work on. Like, oh, I'd love, like for me personally, I'd love to build more muscle, right? Like I'm at the gym, I'm trying to get like a bigger booty, bigger thighs, nice little slim waist, but everybody has their own goals, right? But regardless of how I want to look, I want to feel good in my own body, in my own skin. I want to be healthy. I want to live a long life. Like life is really freaking short. I mean, it's like what 75 years is maybe the average lifespan for the average human. And if you think about it, I'm 28. I'm like 2 years away from being 30, which means I'm almost halfway through my life cycle, which is really freaking scary. Like, and then I've heard, you know, from a lot of my clients, a lot of them have asked me, oh, do you have kids? And I'm like, well, no, I'd love some, you know, but not yet. I have so many things that I really want to accomplish before I can officially, you know, think about that. And thankfully my partner and I are on the same page about it. But in our Latino culture, it's really hard sometimes because you'll go to a baby shower or a family party and they're like, oh, ¿y los hijos cuándo? Like, when are you going to have kids? When are you going to make me a grandma? When are you going to make blah, blah, blah? And it's like, damn, that's so hard. And I have to be polite and respectful. And initially I'm like, like, of course I want them. But there's just so many things going on in my life right now that I feel like I can't really put a stop to it, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to see it through as much as possible and really see like who Mayra Mejia can become in this lifetime. And, you know, I don't know if that makes it selfish, but then again, it's also, I get the opportunity to live my life the way that I'd like to.
It's your life, so if it's what's best for you, I wouldn't say it's selfish.
Sometimes I've gotten comments like, oh, that's so selfish. Don't you want to leave some kids behind and like a legacy and things like that? And it's like, yeah, of course. But like, I know the way that I was raised and I love, you know, all my other siblings and my parents, but it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. There was a lot of financial struggle and, you know, being Latino, it's you know what your parents go through to even get here. So I really just want to make sure that I give back, that I'm able to take care of my parents. And I mean, ever since I turned 15, I've been working in the field since I was like 6 years old with my family and my siblings. And it was not fun. It's not work that I, you know, would recommend, but people are out there doing it. And I absolutely love that. I mean, I love how freaking strong my parents have been throughout a lot of things. And to me, that's very admirable. I really look up to them and I want to take care of them before it's too late, you know. I know we just jumped into a bunch of different little tangents, but it all, you know, it all relates. And that's pretty much been my biggest drive to be where I am today. A lot of it really has to do with having a very strong partner, of course.
Yes,
If it wasn't for him, I mean, I definitely wouldn't have even known about the non-invasive body sculpting approach to beauty, or really have just, you know, gotten a little bit of a blueprint or kickstart to the entrepreneurship world. So shout out to Marcos, because you're freaking amazing. You're my rock and I really appreciate you. Life would not be the same without you. I can tell you that for sure. But yeah, also shout out to my parents, because I definitely have like my chingona vibes sometimes. And I'm like, dude, I can't believe this is my life right now. Like, I live in beautiful San Luis Obispo. I get to work with amazing people that truthfully care about themselves and, you know, their health, their goals and things like that. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Like the clientele that I have ranges from, of course, the legal age is 18, right? But it ranges from like 20 to maybe like 60, 62. So, you know, it's amazing to see women who are already in their 50s and 60s, and they'll come in and we'll talk about self-love and self-care. And it's the first time in their whole life that they've actually even put themselves first.
Wow.
Yeah. And to me, that's just an eye-opener, because I get to be part of that process. You know, I get to be part of that coaching process where we preach self-love and self-care a little bit more. We talk about how it's okay to be a little selfish with caring about yourself. I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, if you don't take care of yourself, right? Like, how do you expect other people to take care of you? How do you expect other people to tell you you're beautiful, that you're worthy, that, you know, you can do anything that you want to? And just so many different things, right? Everybody has a different journey and they have their own reasons for being there, but I get to be part of that. And I've learned a lot about myself, and also from my clients, you know, about life.
I want to get into that, but first I kind of want to touch, because especially, you know, us being Latinas, and
Yeah.
I think there's like within our cultures a lot of expectation that we serve everyone first and we're always last. And so I think now in like we're Gen Zers, or you're millennial, I think, and the millennial. I'm like at the very, I'm at like the dates
It's
change.
a blur.
It's
Yeah.
we're right at the beginning. Anyway, but I think I've noticed more now that, you know, women are more career driven. They want to like get their degree first or whatever, and older generations are kind of pushing back on it more, or like making the
Yeah.
comments of like, where's the kids, like where's your husband or wife, whoever, whatever,
Right.
however you go.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes it hard sometimes, because then you can either feel guilty, or maybe you're not worthy enough, or there's something wrong because you're not fitting into the bubble that other generations have kind of put an expectation on.
Yeah, like that mold, right?
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah, it's scary. It's something that I pretty much initially took like day by day, starting the entrepreneurship route. Yeah, there's so many things here, so many good juicy topics to talk about, but like for example, yeah, when I quit my job, the biggest thing that I was scared about was telling my parents. Because for them coming here, you know, there's always so much uncertainty, and when you have 5 kids and you have to feed all of them and love all of them, you know, it's a lot. It adds up, and they didn't have that kind of luxury to even think about self-love and self-care. So for them to see, you know, their younger kids like looking good, working out, like having the time to even do that is just probably very mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, my mom, like I've worked out with her a couple times. I've taught her a couple things, and for me, you know, having the opportunity to give back a little bit by teaching her the things that I know, I feel very wholesome about it, like a mother-daughter wholesomeness,
Yeah.
you know. But it's really sad, because I hope and I wish that everybody would be able to indulge in that self-love, self-care. It's very important, especially, you know, before diving into a relationship with anybody. I think that you have to be 100% with yourself before you can even like bring on someone else into your own life and like combine the two. I think that, yeah, I was scared, but mostly because I felt a little bit guilty. Like there's so much uncertainty that I'm going to go into here, even though I have the resources and the support, and I have to explain that somehow and comfort my parents, letting them know I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, I think that with our Latino parents, the biggest thing for them is, as they're watching us grow, they just want to make sure that they did their part, that, you know, nothing falls back on them, that we're good kids, that, you know, things like that. And I think that was the biggest thing, you know, is just worrying that maybe I wasn't going to make it. Maybe but the beauty of it is I'm young. I get to have this opportunity to try something. If it doesn't work out, my backup is going back to corporate, you know,
Right.
like it's a good backup plan, and not everybody has that, but you know, it's a learning curve always. But I love it. It fuels me. I feel like I'm learning so much about myself personally, and whenever there's challenges, I take them head on. You know, it's a good problem to have that a lot of people want to, you know, come in and get body sculpted. It's a good problem to have that I can't schedule everybody in a month. You know, it's a good, I just try to look at it more positively. And hopefully in the future, in the next couple months, I don't know, I will be expanding and, you know, really be able to help more people out with their goals faster. So, but yeah, going back to the Latino culture thing, for sure, it's a lot of pressure. It's hard. I think that if you're able to have that support and understanding with your family, it makes it easier, but it takes a lot of work. A lot of work.
Yeah.
For sure. I've had to talk about generational stuff with my parents to even begin to understand where they're at mentally, emotionally, physically, of course. Putting in the time to not only talk about my experiences, but really see where they're coming from so that I can combine the two and see where the middle ground is, right? The biggest struggle, I think, in the generational, like Gen Z, millennials, and then, you know, what is it, Generation X? No.
Gen X, yeah.
Gen X, right? There's so many. is pretty much having that middle ground, because I think a lot of older people these days think, oh, these TikTok kids, you know, like they're always on their phone scrolling. It's so true. It's bad. It's bad. It's addicting and it's not good. There's some good ways to it, of course, you know, like putting your business out there and things like that, having the podcast and getting more information out there that people actually want to listen to. But I think that there's definitely got to be like a healthy like balance with things, and explaining those things to my parents and letting them know why we do things, why we're on our phones, like, you know, all of these different things, finding that middle ground, and then kind of working out the kinks. You know, there's been a lot of talks about self-love and self-care, and talking about, you know, the beauty industry and body sculpting. I had the opportunity to have my mom visit for about a week, and I gave her 2 free sessions of, well, duh, she's my mom.
She's a family discount.
Yeah, for sure, like full discount. I gave her some body sculpting sessions, and she was overjoyed. She was so happy. She cried. Oh my gosh, we had a whole moment. It was beautiful. It was very heartwarming.
I love that.
Yes, it was so interesting. I don't even know. I feel like I had like a mini out of body experience, because I've definitely had heartfelt moments with my mom. Of course, she's been the main, she's been the rock, you know, in terms of like emotional support and things like that. My dad has a little bit of a longer journey to go with emotional support, but I think that's very common for most males in a Hispanic household.
Yeah.
But for her and I to have this moment together was like, wow, this is the woman that gave birth to me. I came from her, and I'm seeing her for the first time, like fully, you know, and I get to work on this body that gave life to me. Like,
oh, wow.
You know, it's just such a beautiful thing, you know. Our bodies literally have gone through so much to get us to where we are today. And not even just our bodies, like our feet especially, you know, like last night the other night we went dancing, like we had so much fun, and it's like these feet carried us the whole way. Like, I know. Dude, I know, I'm still a little sore in my quads for sure. But I mean, it's such a beautiful thing, you know, when you look at life and our bodies that way. And I think it's something that we need to be more aware of. It's so easy to get sucked into the hustle and bustle of everyday life and just go to work, come home, eat, go to the gym. You know, if you have kids, like hang out with your kids for a minute. Like, there's so many things in your day-to-day agenda that I feel like not a lot of people are taking that time to really even fully grasp the meaning of who they are as a person, who they are in terms of how they feel about their skin, their body, their soul. Like, it's a holistic experience, right? And for me, my approach is to kind of touch on those little things, which I feel like are big things, but touch on those little things with each of my clients. Everybody's different. Some of them have already, you know, like I guess gone into experiencing a little bit more of the self-love, self-care. But again, some people are barely doing it for the first time, and it's a beautiful thing to be part of. So
what would be, well, let's talk about like with your self-love journey, what were ways that you started implementing that for yourself?
Oh yeah, let me tell you. So my self-love journey, truthfully, I feel like I've always been pretty confident with how I look. But that took some work. I feel like in our Latino culture, it's very common to see, you know, like curvy, beautiful women. And I'm not very curvy at all, right? Like my sisters are, and I was always the more flaquita one. And so it was always something that was, I guess, touched on or picked on. Like when I'd go see families at a carne asada or something, like, ay, mija, estás bien flaquita, like, si comes? And then I'd be like, damn, do I have to eat like 2 plates just to prove that I actually eat? Like, it's like those little things that would get to me over time. And I mean, I don't know how else to like put it. I'm just grateful that it didn't become a slippery slope of darkness for me, because I know that body dysmorphia is a thing. And I pretty much looked at it in a positive way. Like, learning to love my little tiny like hand, if whatever I can grab, like that kind of thing. And, of course, like I feel like I've had a positive relationship with food. And that's also another thing that's important, right? With my clients as they're on this tangent, I know, but.
Oh, you're good.
That's also another important thing because I don't want them to develop a negative relationship with the way that they look, with the way that they think about themselves, with the number on the scale, or even with, the food that they're consuming.
Yeah.
I think that there is definitely a healthy balance with all of it. You just have to be sure that you have the foundation set strong within you, like understanding these are the expectations and working slowly day by day with what you're going to do, right? To work towards your goals.
Alrighty, so we're back. We clearly have a set change. We had to switch locations really quickly, but we're finishing up. And so we left off on you explaining your self-love journey and wanted to talk more about the technology side of your business, and then kind of get more into the entrepreneurial side. And then if there's anything else about like the experience with your mom or even the self-love that you think would be good to bring up.
Okay, love it. Yeah, okay, so in terms of the technology, it's definitely super advanced and it's only going to keep getting better. Of course, again, it's non-invasive. So what my clients can expect, for example, initially when people get booked in, they do ask, is there anything I need to worry about? Because there are pre-treatment care instructions that they have to follow. One of the most important being that they have to drink at least 64 ounces of water before they come in for treatment. And that's really just because water is going to be your best friend throughout all of these treatments. Why? Because it's the most natural form of flushing out all of the toxins from your body. So they have to drink at least 64 ounces of water. They have to make sure they don't drink any like coffee or caffeinated drinks at least 24 hours prior. And that main reason is that coffee and caffeinated drinks, they're diuretics, right? So they're going to heavily dehydrate your body. So when you have these treatments, it's important that you're only drinking water because you want to flush everything out naturally versus if you drink coffee or any other caffeinated drinks or alcohol, especially, your body's going to naturally want to prioritize, trying to get rid of that first through your body before it prioritizes any of the stubborn fat we're trying to get rid of. So we want to make sure that, you get your time and your money's worth so that you flush those out before you even consider, oh, I'm going to go out tonight. I'm going to go do, there's certain little things that come into play with getting the best results, but they make a huge difference. So water, making sure you don't drink coffee or alcohol, also, pretty much just not eating at least 2 hours before treatment. I know sometimes that's tough because people have different schedules and then they're coming in and they maybe just had a little bit of lunch. But I just recommend like no heavy carbs or anything like that because especially when we treat tummy and sides, we're going to be adding a little bit of pressure with the probe and things like that. And it's just to like make sure you don't feel sick or have to throw up or anything during the session. Just very, very simple things, but they all come into play to pretty much give you the best experience. Other than that, everything else is just pretty easy going. As soon as the client comes in, the consultation starts, I address any questions. Some of the most frequently asked questions are, how often can I get this treatment done, right? Let's say we're treating tummy and sides. So realistically, your lymphatic drainage system is going to be working really hard to flush out all the toxins naturally from your body. So we want to wait at least 3 days, so 72 hours, before you come back into the treatment room and we do it all over again. So you're going to want to make sure that you drink plenty of water, minimum 64 ounces, but there's actually a golden rule. I don't know if you knew this, but there's a golden rule with how much everybody should drink in terms of water, depending on how much they weigh.
Oh, okay.
So for example, let's say I weigh 130, 140 pounds, right? So I need to take my weight divided by 2, and then that's how much in ounces I need to drink minimum to flush things out of my system, especially during treatment. So if I weigh 140 pounds, for example, then divide that by 2, it's 70 ounces daily. If I can hit 120 ounces or hit that gallon, right, then I'm golden. I'm going to flush every single thing out and then some out of my system. And that's the most important. I know it seems a little silly to say, but yeah, just drink your water. It's the most natural thing out there. And, you can't go wrong. I've had plenty of clients who have come to me and The biggest thing has been I drink soda, I drink coffee, I drink alcohol, I don't drink water. How can I expect to even get started and make this a thing daily? And so we've really worked on that. The accountability has to be there, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, I don't want to be annoying with them, but I have to make sure that we get the results. I'm going to do everything that I can in the treatment room. They're going to lose some inches. But maintenance and consistency is key with anything that you do. A lot of people will come in and they have the idea of, well, surgery is an option. It's expensive, but it's an option, right? And they think that as soon as they get the surgery done, that's it. They have this body, this bomb body for life. But that's not true. Maintenance is going to be the key regardless. People that get BBLs, tummy tucks, whatever it is, some of those people, depending on how their body responds, is important, but also the maintenance that comes with it afterwards. They think that the work is
it's a one and done fix, put a Band-Aid on it. Yeah.
But the work has just begun. A lot of people don't realize that there's more to it than just getting the procedure done. They have to go and get lymphatic drainage massages, to flush out all of the gunk and the things. Oh my gosh. If you look up videos on Instagram or anything like that, it's a little scary. After a while, you kind of become desensitized to it. But it's you're seeing all these things flush out of your body and blood and things. And it's post-op care. Definitely not a thing at your Body Haven currently. I don't know about the near future, but as of right now, there's just so many things, Everybody responds differently, and some people have complications post-surgery, and it's just a big red flag at the moment for me. So it's a no.
Yeah.
But so people will have the idea that, it's a one and done fix thing, but it's not. You have to make sure you're eating healthy, that you're going to the gym, that you're maintaining that look that you got, because if you don't, it's going to come back. Nothing is permanent in this world. You just paid 20 or more K, and now you still have to put in the work. So non-invasive body sculpting, I really feel like, is the approach. It's not always going to be a one session done kind of thing, right? Because everybody's different. But I have had clients actually that within a session or two will reach their goals, but that's because they've already been on a fitness journey and they just need maybe some tightening and toning or a little bit of fat reduction on the tummy, which is the hardest part to lose. So it really just depends on the individual, and that's why the consultation and the body assessment are important.
It sounds like it's just very similar to people with their fitness journey. If you want something, you have to put in the effort and daily practice to maintain it.
Exactly.
This past month I was busy either out of the country, traveling, or a lot of work on the podcast. So I didn't work out much this past month.
Gotcha.
And immediately I can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Of the muscle I had built. I seem a little smaller.
All that
work. I'm it keeps you humble for sure.
Yeah, 1,000%. So consistency is super important. Maintenance, of course, is super important. And that's something that is part of that coaching process, right? People aren't used, maybe, some people aren't used to someone telling them what to do kind of thing. But that's the beauty of it, is I'm teaching you how this technology works, what it's intended to do, and what we have to do to achieve the results that you want. And so it's a team effort. That's the beauty of it. It's not just on me. It's not just on the client. It's us making sure that we hold each other accountable with all right, do you need me to remind you to drink your water? Because I can totally do that. Do you need me to check in to remind you to eat healthy? Because I can do that too, I don't want to tell them what to do, but at the same time, it's hey girl, I know you've been eating out these last 2 days. Make sure you eat something healthy, get some fruits and veggies in you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I develop a pretty cool relationship with individually with all my clients that I feel comfortable enough to talk to them like a friend, and I think that's really important. I know that, even in the medical field and things like that, some people, it's a luxury if you can talk to your doctor as a friend, but sometimes it's also scary to even ask them questions because you're oh, am I overstepping?
Right.
So I treat everyone individually, as with the best intentions. I get to know them, I build rapport, and that's the biggest thing. As your specialist, I really want to know, I ask all these questions during the consultation. I want to know what your daily lifestyle is like, what you do, and what areas, we might need to improve on to get you to where you want to be, right? It's not a wave of the wand fix, but we can get there as long as you're willing to work with me. So if people are willing to work with me, then, they'll usually move forward and buy a package. A package is usually the best way for you to achieve the results that you're wanting to get, because again, a one session is not going to do it for most people, but it can get you closer to your goals. The average number, I will say, is in terms of how much like fat you can lose in a session, is between 0.25 to 5 inches of fat loss, which is
That's crazy.
pretty wild.
Yeah.
Non-invasively, right? So it really just depends on the individual. And that's why that new guest special is so great, because they get to try a session of customized treatments depending on where they're at and what their goals are, to pretty much see like, okay, my body was able to shed off 2 inches today. Now, most people don't drink enough water before they come in. Now, like those people sometimes will still lose between, an inch or two of stubborn fat. And so I tell them, like, imagine if you drank more water, like how much more amazing your results will be. Mm-hmm. So that's really just the key. So yeah, back to the frequently asked questions. Sessions, well, it really just depends on the individual, where they're currently at in terms of their, their weight, their body physique, how they look, what they want. And then, of course, yeah, like their goals and what it's going to take to get there, how their body responds to one session, and then just gauging, okay, how many sessions do we think you might need before you can actually like hit your goal kind of thing. So that all of that really just depends on the individual. And then, of course, like financially, I got to say it's so much more affordable than lipo, tummy tucks, all that stuff. Currently the body sculpting industry, I mean, it's huge. It's growing, in California specifically and Miami. I will say it's a pretty penny, but it's so worth it if you're really serious about, your body goals and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I talk about all of these things and I set those expectations with my clients, and I can't tell you how excited they get after their first session, because just seeing their faces, like, holy crap, I just got to like lay there, relax, listen to music. Some people even fall asleep, which is really cool for me, because I'm like, oh, they're relaxed. I love that. That makes me happy. And they lost a couple inches, and they're like, wow, no way. So we take measurements during the body assessment. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have never had their measurements before. They've definitely taken their weight and things like that. But we take measurements of everything that we're working on. And then as soon as the session is over, they use the restroom, because the body's already starting to flush the toxins out. It's that quick. And then we take, the measurements again. And then that's when they see like, I can't believe that just happened, and then we take their after pics and then we like compare, and that's how we kind of check their progress over time kind of thing. But yeah, all of their concerns are addressed, their questions. If they move forward with the package, then we pre-book everything. And then that's pretty much what sets you apart from any, new client coming in, because you have everything solidified with holding you accountable to come in and work on your goals. Same as like when you go to the gym, right? Mm-hmm. If you go to Planet Fitness, it's kind of on you if you decide you want to go to the gym today or not. But if you go to a fitness center like XGT Fitness, you have to pre-book all your classes, right? Mm-hmm. So that means that you're going to want to make sure that you go in, get your money's worth, and actually start working on your goals. Right. So the fact that they've pre-booked all their sessions when they buy this package is like, hey, we're going to work on your goals. This is just a reminder, kind of thing. And it really helps set that tone of like, wow, my body sculpting specialist really cares about me. Like, she's telling me to drink my water. She's telling me to eat healthy. Like, who else is going to hold you accountable like that, So
who makes the time to put effort to make sure you're doing what you need to do, that way you're the most happy.
Right. Yeah. I really treat my clients as if they're like buddies, like friends of mine. But of course you have to have that fine. This is something that I'm still working on too, because as a business owner, sometimes it's hard for me to keep those boundaries apart, right? Mm-hmm. Specifically speaking about, sometimes it's past, the hours of operation, and I'll get a client text or 2 or 3, and I'm already having dinner, or I'm out with somebody or whatever it is, and I see this, and it's that thing of like, okay, this could affect my schedule if I don't reply to it right now. I got to make sure that I tend to it. So still figuring out those kinks. I would say that's one of the challenges right now. But I mean, I care about my clients so much that I'm always so quick to reply and like, yeah, let's do this day instead of this day if it can't work for you. And or sometimes they'll start their menstrual cycle, right? And one of the biggest things is I personally do not do treatments on my clients when they're on their menstrual cycle because they're already going to be uncomfortable, bloated, and what's the point, right? You're going to get treatment on your stomach or sides or your back or whatever it is, and you're not going to feel super comfortable. So there's just no point in treating you. Plus, the one of the probes for fat reduction, ultrasonic cavitation, it does promote more blood flow and kickstarts their metabolism.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to make them feel even more uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, actually hinting on that, let me dive a little bit into the technology and explain it a little bit.
Yeah.
So anytime we're dealing with any stubborn fat reduction specifically, we're going to use ultrasonic cavitation. I do have all of these services pretty much explained a little bit further in the website and also on the Instagram and the services highlight, if any of you guys want to check it out. But
I'll link her below.
Perfect. But yeah, ultrasonic cavitation, pretty much think about your fat cell like a balloon, right? Like anytime, whatever you're eating, whatever you're drinking, you're putting it into your system, right? Your body's going to take care of how to dispose of it, get the the nutrients that it needs from it, and then flush out the rest. So you're pretty much already training your body to look a certain way depending on what you're consuming. So if you have a lot of processed foods, sugars, all the bad stuff we have here in America, if you're already eating a bunch of that gunk, then it's going to cause this fat cell to become pretty inflamed. As it's becoming more inflamed, it's going to cause the intestines to become inflamed and therefore cause that more, protruded, like rounded belly. And it's harder to get rid of over time, even with diet and exercise. So that's why ultrasonic cavitation is going to help. If you've had an ultrasound before, it's similar technology. It's just a little bit more advanced, more in depth. And when I say that, I really just mean that it's releasing low frequency sound waves. So these sound waves are actually vibrations pretty much penetrating the skin. It's all very natural, keep that in mind. It's penetrating the skin, and these vibrations cause little microscopic bubbles around the fat cells. So these little bubbles are going to cause that fat cell to pretty much rupture, break apart, and liquefy the contents from within. So when this happens, all of these contents, the toxins, the gunk from the fat cell, are going to be pushed into your bloodstream, right? Your lymphatic drainage system is going to flush everything out. The more water you drink, the better it will be because it's going to flush all of it out, whatever it is we broke down. The only thing I will say, there really aren't any side effects or downsides to any of these treatments because they're non-invasive. But the only thing I will say is during that specific treatment, there is going to be a slight ringing in your ears. And at this point, a lot of my clients have coined it the term, our little alien friends. Sounds really silly, but, once you come into the treatment room, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So it just sounds like a little like, like that's the noise the whole time. But I promise you after your first session, because the first session's like, oh, you're learning all the things, how it works. A lot of my clients fall asleep and they love it. And I love it. Because it's their me time, I have a lot of moms, even some dads, a lot of nurses actually too. And, they're so busy outside of the treatment room that it's like any time that they can get to themselves is just like a luxury, like time for them.
Yeah.
I totally get like a lot of the moms, they have their own jobs. They got to take care of their kids. They got to feed their kids, all these things. And then where's the me time? They don't have that. So for them to be here at your body even is a huge like honor for me to be like, not only to have them there, but to be helping them with their goals.
You're part of their self-love journey.
Yeah, exactly. And so when they fall asleep, when I hear a little snore, I'm even more happy because I'm like, girl, I love this. Like, I love this for you kind of thing, But yeah, it's as simple as that when it comes to fat reduction. And then this treatment does make you pretty thirsty, pretty hungry. Sometimes people get a little bit of like tired afterwards too. Everybody responds differently, but it's very normal. So what I usually recommend is you can't really eat an hour after treatment because the body's already starting to dispose of everything. But once you get home after the whole session is done, you're totally fine to eat. I always recommend certain things, but of course, like no heavy carbs or like processed sugars or anything like that. Because you don't want to undo the work that you just did.
Right.
That'd be super pointless. And then the next one of my other favorite treatments is radiofrequency skin tightening. So this one super amazing, FDA approved. Basically what it's doing is it's causing, again, the probe, all of these treatments, I gotta say, I think I forgot to mention this, are for the body specifically. They can be treated on tummy, sides, back, arms, thighs, booty, you name it. If you can pinch it and you can grab it, you can treat it. There are also treatments for the face and the neck. I do have some clients that come in because they want to pretty much tighten and tone or reduce some stubborn fat around the chin area. Sometimes, yes, some things are hereditary, but that doesn't mean that you can't work on it to get it done if that's a goal of yours, it's usually the radiofrequency facial, skin tightening, or just fat reduction on the chin that I'll work on. And it's amazing. So skin tightening is one of my most favorite treatments. There's no noise to this one. It's literally just warmth. The probe does feel a little bit warm, and how it works is the radio frequency is pretty much penetrating the skin, the dermis, to heat up that layer. I will say it's pretty much like it's causing microscopic trauma to the skin, so it makes it want to repair itself very quickly. And in doing so, it's forming natural collagen in the body or even in the face, which is really amazing because truthfully, like once you're 25 years old and up, your collagen levels are heavily depleted. So yes, I know there's like supplements out there and things like that that can potentially help you reboost that collagen, but it's really hard to gauge how effective they are if you're not being consistent to even notice a difference. Right. So again, consistency is key. At least with these treatments, you're able to feel the tightness right away. Everybody responds differently, of course. And it totally depends on where you're at physically, because a lot of women, especially, the biggest area of treatment is the tummy. Some people do come in with quite a bit of loose skin or just quite a bit of stubborn fat in the tummy area, whether they've just had a baby or, they've tried to lose the post-baby weight and things like that, but they've been working at it and nothing in the gym or their diet is making a difference. So yeah, this is where it all pretty much ties in nicely, and they're able to really feel and notice a difference right away. And the beauty about the radio frequency is it can continue to take into effect for up to 4 to 6 weeks after just one session.
Wow.
Yeah. So it can continue to tighten, but everybody, again, is different, especially with age. That's another thing too. So there's a couple of factors, but we address all of the pre-treatment and post-treatment, concerns and how to maintain things.
Yeah. I think it's really cool just to remind people that, everybody's different, the way it reacts. So people might see how someone else reacted, and if they don't get that results, they might feel discouraged or something. Right. So it's good. I like that you remind everybody that everyone's different. There's no right way of responding.
No cookie cutter method. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it too, is learning to understand your body itself, and yes, how it responds, but also what you can do to like help expedite your results, kind of thing, right? Some people will drink the water and they'll be fine. They don't even have to exercise because they've been exercising their whole life, and maybe they could take a day off or two, kind of thing, But other people, if they put on weight more easily, then yes, they do have to watch more of what they eat. Or it's so funny. Sometimes I have some clients that come in and they're like, I'll drive past McDonald's and I gain 3 pounds. And to me, it's like, oh, damn, like that's kind of sad, because you can't, I don't know, like for me, I've always had the opposite effect. I feel like, and that's something that I address with my clients too. I'm like this tiny thing working on someone. But I talk about, my own, body goals and things like that to help create that middle ground of like everybody's constantly working on themselves. Just because you see someone, you think they're gorgeous, they got the body, does not mean they're not working on something for themselves. Right. So that's just like a little reminder kind of thing. So I appreciate all of the transparency that goes on at your Body Haven, because that's important, right? Like I want people to talk to me truthfully about what their goals are. And then, I'll talk to them about some of my things also to pretty much relate, because that's important, as human beings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're beings of connection.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. I love it.
I think we'll wrap up with this last topic, but kind of just being a young entrepreneur, especially as a Latina here in SLO.
Right.
How's that been for you?
I gotta say, it has been very insightful. And I guess I'm choosing that word carefully, because I don't really know a lot of other Latina women business owners here in the area. So it makes me feel very fortunate to be one of the few that I know. But I think it's really amazing because this is such a like this is the best time to get into entrepreneurship, I feel like, because there's so much to learn. We have all of this technology at our disposal, but also making sure that when you get into this route that if you're 100% going in, like make sure you do your research. I think that it's so important to make sure that you invest in a good mentor so that you know exactly what you're doing when you're getting into that industry. As I mentioned earlier at the other location, I feel like the non-invasive body sculpting industry is becoming a little bit watered down in terms of people being in it for the money and not the right reasons. So make sure that if you are going to go and get non-invasive body sculpting from someone, whether it's me or anybody else, like ask the questions. Ask questions about what it's going to do for you, your body, like what you can expect kind of thing. Because if your specialist can't back up what the science is or how it's expected to work kind of thing, then that should already be a red flag.
Right.
You have to know the ins and outs of the industry, how it's going to affect the individual, and what to expect moving forward kind of thing. So yeah, as a Latina, other than, learning all the things and just, I chose the word insightful because I've learned a lot with all the, the learning curve in starting my own business, but also insightful because there have been some positive influences just here in San Luis Obispo through women making waves. I mean, I'm so fortunate that I got to meet you. You know what I mean?
Likewise.
Like through the group.
Yeah.
But also there's other amazing women like Mariah and like Bear Harbor Door and, other women who like Tyler and just so many other people who are in this group that have a positive influence in the community, but that can also shed some light on their experiences as business owners. And then also see, as you explain what your business ideas are, give you that feedback. And it's all taken like with a grain of salt, but also really appreciated, right? Like, how can I grow? You've already been in, the business industry here in the coast for X amount of years, and I'm just starting out. What's your advice to me as a young entrepreneur? I just love that there's so much room for connection. And quite truthfully, if I was somewhere else in the world, like Miami, San Diego, or whatever, I feel like it would be like so competitive, dog-eat-dog world kind of thing.
More cutthroat, yeah.
Yes. Versus here, we love small businesses. We want people to thrive. Like, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, here through Cal Poly, even the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And it's amazing. I feel like everything in my life has pretty much worked out in a certain way through God's will for how it needs to be for my journey, and I feel very fortunate to have the connections, the people, the resources, but also as a reminder, like a gentle reminder, you have all these things, do not take them for granted, be grateful for what you have, but put in the work, and then just kind of taking it day by day. But I will say, I know it's a learning curve for anyone who's looking to get into entrepreneurship, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. I feel like there's so much self-growth and a lot of self-love that comes from it, because when you have those challenging moments, you have to decide how to move forward and not stay stuck. So yeah, it's a beautiful journey for sure. And I highly recommend it to anyone who's ready to, change up their lifestyle, who, if I'm being completely honest, the 9-to-5 was not for me, because you're using up your fuels, your energy, you're waking up to make someone else's dream come true.
Yeah.
And the way I see life now, especially, is like, I look at my parents, they're getting older and older every time that I see them, and they work in the field still, but that's because that's their choice kind of thing, like they don't know much else. I have a choice, and that's my power. I'm able to take all the resources and opportunities that I have at my grasp and do something with that. So I think that if you have those opportunities, or even if you don't have them, like, think about all the things our parents had to do to get here, as Latinos to this country. So if they can do that and we're already here, we can definitely use our resources to our advantage to, keep that push, like keep pushing forward. Make something from that. Life is so short, but life is beautiful. We can make anything we want out of it as long as we stay consistent, as long as we stay, clear of any distractions, which will happen. But as long as we're really passionate about what we decide to do. So it's a beautiful journey. I highly recommend it. And I'm here for anybody that has any other questions, of course.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that was all really great. And I think what you just said right now was beautifully said.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Is there any last minute tidbits that you want to share? Any last minute plugins?
Honestly, I'm just really excited for the journey that lies ahead. I truthfully am within the next couple months or so, after summer, the busy season, is pretty much done and over with. I'm going to be looking into training other people who want to get into the non-invasive body sculpting industry and just, giving it my all and making sure that I'm there for them as a mentor and teaching them the proper way to not only understanding the technology, but really care for their client, because that's the biggest thing. Your business is not going to thrive if your client doesn't come first.
Yeah.
So, those little things actually add up so much to having your own business. And I think it's important. Not only that, but also having the connection with Marcos's, beautiful marketing agency that pretty much helps you get your clients. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people will get certified and think that they're going to start getting clients just because they have that now, but it's not true.
No, marketing definitely.
1,000%.
Yeah.
You need it. You need it. So, I guess I'll leave off with that. I'm very excited for the journey that lies ahead. There's going to be a lot of growth. I have this long-term vision we've talked about like my business growing in the near future, but I'll leave it at that, and then hopefully there's like a round 2 of an episode with you where we get to talk about how things have changed.
Oh, absolutely. No, we're definitely going to be doing a round 2.
Yeah. Awesome.
No.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Saida. I super appreciate you.
Oh, no, and I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the podcast. Yeah, thanks guys for tuning into another episode. I'm going to have her social media, all her information on the website. That way, if you're curious to learn more, or if you're even in the area, you can become a new client.
Hey.
Yeah. So thanks guys for tuning in again. We'll see you in the next one.